Hardship has a way of visiting every life. It does not knock politely. It storms in. Maybe for you, it came as an illness. For another, a betrayal. For someone else, the silent weight of loneliness. Whatever its form, hardship never asks permission. And when it arrives, it asks only one question. What kind of person will you be now? The Stoics never promised a life free of pain. In fact, they assumed pain was inevitable. What mattered to them was not the hardship itself, but the way we meet it. Marcus Aurelius, writing during wars and plagues, told himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Think of that. He was not denying the reality of hardship. He was reminding himself that suffering is doubled when our mind resists what it cannot change. Let me tell you a story. A man I knew in his late 50s lost his job after decades of loyalty. Overnight, his identity, his income, his security were stripped away. At first, he collapsed into despair, replaying the injustice in his head. But slowly, he began to practice something remarkable. Each morning, he reminded himself, "I cannot control the company's choice. I can only control how I rise today." He started walking, journaling, learning new skills. Months later, he told me, "Losing that job was the hardest blow of my life, but it forced me to discover who I was without a title." His hardship became his forge. And now I ask you, what has been your forge? What hardship shaped you into who you are today? Share it in the comments. Your story may be the light someone else needs right now. If this message speaks to you, press the like button. It tells me these words matter. More importantly, it spreads Stoic wisdom to others who feel crushed and need hope. And if you haven't subscribed yet, join us. Because week by week, we walk together practicing strength in the face of life's storms. The Stoics often used metaphors to describe hardship. Epictetus compared it to training. He said, "Difficulties show what men are. Just as a wrestler does not grow strong without resistance, so we do not grow strong without trials." Hardship, painful as it is proof that life is shaping us, testing us, asking us to rise. I once sat with a woman in her 70s who was battling cancer. She told me, "I don't see myself as unlucky. I see myself as chosen. Life decided to test me, and I want to meet the test with dignity." Her words reminded me of Epictetus. She was not blind to her suffering. She simply refused to see herself as defeated. That is Stoicism in its purest form, hardship accepted not as a curse, but as a chance to practice virtue. Think of your own storms. Which ones are shaping you right now? Could you reframe them not as punishment, but as practice? If you try this shift even once, come back and share your experience. Let others learn from your courage. Hardship also reveals our hidden strength. Seneca once wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." You do not know the depth of your resilience until hardship forces it out. That is why so many people look back on their darkest chapters and say, "I would never want to repeat it, but I would not trade what it gave me." The pain is real, but the strength it forged is more real still. Pause for a moment. Look back at your life. Which hardship gave you the strength you carry now? Write it down. Reflect. Gratitude for the strength born of pain is one of the most Stoic practices of all. Hardship will come for all of us. The question is not if, but how. Will we meet it with bitterness or with dignity? Will we let it crush us or allow it to forge us? Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, all of them chose the second path, and so can we. When hardship arrives, our first instinct is almost always resistance. Why me? Why now? But the Stoics taught that fighting reality only adds weight to the burden. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." This is not surrender to fate, but alignment with it. Instead of wasting energy on what cannot be changed, they saved it for what could their own character. I once counseled a man in his 60s who lost his wife suddenly. For months, every day began with rage at the unfairness of it. "We plan to travel," he said. "We plan to grow old together." But slowly, through reflection, he shifted. He began each morning by whispering to himself, "I cannot command death, but I can choose how I honor her today." He started volunteering, mentoring younger couples, living out the love they shared in acts of service. His grief did not vanish, it became fuel for virtue. That is how a Stoic faces loss, not by pretending it does not hurt, but by transforming the pain into dignity. Now, I want you to pause. Think of the hardest thing you've lived through. Did it destroy you or did it shape you? And more importantly, how are you carrying it now? Share your answer in the comments. Speaking it aloud is itself an act of courage. If these stories move, you press the like button. It's a way of saying, yes, hardship can be faced with strength. And if you haven't subscribed, join us now. Because each week we remind each other not to give up when storms come. Marcus Aurelius faced constant war. Each dawn, reports of battles, of losses, of betrayals arrived at his desk. He could have collapsed under the weight of despair. Yet in his journal he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He was teaching himself to see obstacles as paths. The very hardship that blocked him also shaped him. I think of a woman in her 70s who once told me about her arthritis. At first she said, "I thought my life was ending. I couldn't move the way I used to." But then I realized it forced me to slow down, to notice small things, to appreciate silence. Her pain became her teacher. She smiled and said, "I thought arthritis was the end." Instead, it became the beginning of a new way of living. How often in your life has something that looked like the end actually become the beginning of something new? Reflect on it. And if you're willing, write your story below. Someone else may need that reminder right now. The Stoics also spoke of hardship as a forge. Fire does not only destroy, it purifies. Gold tested by flame shines brighter. Character tested by pain grows stronger. Seneca wrote to a friend, "I judge you unfortunate, because you have never lived through misfortune. You have passed through life without an opponent. No one can ever know what you are capable of, not even you." I once met a retired firefighter who told me the fires I fought weren't just in buildings, they were in myself. Fear, exhaustion, despair, they were the flames. But each time I walked through them, I found I could endure more than I imagined. He looked me in the eye and said, "Now when hardship comes, I don't ask why me. I ask, what will this fire make of me?" That is the Stoic spirit, not shrinking from hardship, but leaning into it with courage, knowing it is shaping you. Take a breath. Think of your current struggle. Instead of asking why, try asking what. What will this hardship make of me? That single shift may change everything. If you feel the weight of hardship now, you are not alone. This community is filled with people walking through storms. Share your struggle in the comments, not for pity, but for solidarity. Others may answer with strength you didn't know you had. And if this message resonates, subscribe. Because here we are learning together to face hardship not as victims, but as Stoics with calm, with courage, with dignity. Hardship has a strange way of becoming the story people remember about us. Not the comfort, not the easy days, but the storms we survived and the way we carried ourselves through them. When you look at the lives of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, what shines most is not that they avoided suffering, but that they met it with dignity. That is why their words still echo 2,000 years later. Marcus buried children. Seneca was exiled. Epictetus was born a slave, beaten so badly, his leg was crippled for life. Yet when we read their works, what we hear is not bitterness, but strength. They turned hardship into wisdom. They left behind not complaints, but guidance. Their suffering became their legacy. I think of a grandmother I once met. She had endured poverty, illness, and the loss of her husband. Yet when she told her story, she smiled. "I want my grandchildren to remember me as someone who never broke," she said. "Not because I was strong by nature, but because I chose to stand when it would have been easier to fall." Her grandchildren will not forget that. Her hardship became her gift to them. So let me ask you, what legacy are you building with the way you carry your hardships? Are you showing those around you that suffering means defeat, or that suffering can be carried with grace? Write it down in the comments. Your story may shape not just strangers here, but the people closest to you. If this reflection speaks to you, press the like button. It tells me these reminders matter to you. More importantly, it helps this message reach someone who feels crushed and alone. And if you haven't subscribed, now is the time. Join us in building a community where hardship is not hidden but transformed into strength. The Stoics remind us that pain is unavoidable, but despair is optional. The world will strike us, but it cannot dictate our response. You may not be able to control illness, betrayal, or loss, but you can always control how you rise to meet them. Imagine this: years from now, someone tells your story. What will they say? Will they say you collapsed under hardship, or will they say they suffered, but they carried it with dignity? They became stronger. They taught me how to stand. That choice is yours, and it begins now. Let me leave you with Marcus's words. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your hardship is not the end of your path. It is the path. Walk it with courage. Walk it with calm. Walk it like a Stoic. And then come back, share your journey, and encourage someone else who is struggling. Because we grow stronger not only by enduring our own storms, but by standing together through them.